Hey guys, welcome to this is episode 17 of Office Hours with Bob Ross. And on this episode for this week, and it's going to be, I guess, the usual amount of time, maybe a little bit short because I have another meeting I have to get to. But regardless, this week what I'd like to talk about is a topic that tends to be a little bit controversial sometimes, especially when it comes to group chat, whether it's in online groups on sometimes Facebook or people talking on Instagram, although I would say a lot more on Facebook. That has to do with the topic of theory, and for this week, my topic is no theory, as far as N-O, or no theory, K-N-O-W, no theory. And I'll preface it by saying that I don't think that you have to have this set thing of, where there's these sometimes clear lines that get established from time to time of, well, I don't want to know about theory because it just takes all the, musicality part out. And let me tell you, my viewpoint is this, and it's based on my experience. And I'll start with the beginnings of, at least my path in this and what I've come to figure out and where my mind's at on it right now. When I first started playing, I didn't know a lot about theory, and I first started playing trumpet, so I did have band class, and I did learn a little bit of music theory through that, and my band director did teach some private lessons, so I did take some private lessons on trumpet. Not very many, excuse me, but I went over some basic things regarding theory. So I knew some very simple things, and then I was reading about theory on my own. I was one of those kids for fun. I'd pick up the Cliff Notes on chemistry or something, before I had chemistry class. I've always been fairly analytical with things, and sometimes that's been, I don't find it a weakness necessarily. It can be kind of annoying because there's some things in music that I felt could be clearly defined, and that's not always the case. So for me, having an interest in science where you have a lot of things that can be very analytical and you do this, you get this. To go into music and have some of those things not line up in that exact order made me feel a little bit anxious or uptight. And especially in jazz, I found that to be the case even more so, because now you're hearing things such as, just take the scales or arpeggios or some melodies and just start making some things up. Now there's more to it. Of course, any of you that pursue jazz seriously, that there's more to it. It's not just whatever you make up off the top of your head. It's just what it is. There is some truth to that, but there's more to it. It's the things that you practice and what you put in that comes out into your playing, and hopefully when you're out actually playing with people, you create a conversation with the people that you're playing with. That way it's not all in your head, and it's not some academic exercise or something that you're just playing out on a gig. But for me, early on, I didn't have guitar lessons. I started playing guitar at 14, went to college to do music. So at 18, that was the first time that I had a lesson on guitar. And that first year of college was really just full on where the theory came from for me. And it felt a little bit overwhelming. I can say that prior to that, when I would try to write some tunes, like I had some ideas for original tunes, I didn't know all the notes on the guitar yet, so I was using tab. I was writing things out in tab. And I felt, in some respect, when I was starting to learn theory, that it felt almost like this hindrance on my creative ability. So I maybe, that's what some people are encountering. Maybe that's the issue, and that's why they feel like maybe theory hinders what they're trying to do. I did feel that to some extent, and as I learned more about theory, sometimes it felt like there were a list of things that I had to do or else it was wrong. And when you're doing that in an academic sense and you're studying it and you're doing this stuff for a grade, that makes sense. There's things that you're trying to work out and acquire the knowledge of in order to take that and use it. But it's not always set in stone like that, right? Because it's called music theory. So one of the things that has helped me, this little sidetrack here, one of the things that's helped is I remember, listening to what Jimmy Bruno had to say about when it came to analyzing phrases. And people want to be very analytical about the way that they see a phrase, and they put the theory on it. But the thing is, music is flowing, right? So music is like a line that's just progressing along. And what you can do is take snapshots of what's happening, and you can come up with theoretical terms to describe it. But you got to be careful not to get bogged down with that, because there's times that you could potentially see a major chord and someone's playing a minor third over top of a major chord, and you're like, well, what's that? Why does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. And early on for me, that's exactly the kind of things that I saw, and I was trying to be so analytical with it and trying to understand that it was very frustrating. But what I'll say is that by learning theory, it's helped a lot for me to be able to take ideas that I have and write them out, and to be able to communicate those ideas and concepts with other people. I don't think that you have to be that knowledgeable in like some advanced theory, harmony type stuff. I think that it as with anything else, it's another tool that you have. It's something else that you can use. And by learning it, it can take away some of the guessing game. And when you're trying to figure out like what to play over something, or if you're composing something, although, sometimes you just bypass that. For me, my tunes, a lot of times are non-functional harmony. So I try to create more of a landscape. I'm not looking so much as to follow the traditional harmony and writing out, all these 2/5 bass things and whatnot. I look to create more of a overall, how do I want to say it, harmonic background, and I implement a melody over top, and that's how I've usually done it. But why not add it to your knowledge, learning theory? I don't see anything wrong with it. I do get where people are coming from, where they feel like things are very academic and the music can sound very academic. I understand where people are coming from with that. But that's a matter of preference and a matter of what you're doing with the knowledge that you're gaining. You can learn this stuff. You don't have to be that technical and advanced harmonically in what you're doing. You can still be simplistic in what you're doing and create very beautiful things. It's just another way of knowing how to express yourself. So for me, this idea of going back and forth between, hearing or seeing arguments about no theory, meaning, again, like my title, N-O or K-N-O-W, whether to learn it or not to learn it, I don't think that you need to have this yes and no. It has to be one way or the other. As many people have pointed out, on one side of the argument, you have players that really didn't know any theory. If they did, it was very minimal, and they created, exceptional compositional works or great players. And you have it on the other side too, where there's people that know this theoretical side to the music, but they can't play very well. So I get both sides of the argument, but I see no reason to take one side or the other on this. my overall view, once again, is do whatever you feel like on that one. Learn some theory. Why not incorporate it into your knowledge? It's not going to hurt. So implement some ideas, and you never know, it can very well expand what you're able to do in your playing or in your compositions. So I would definitely incorporate it in there. So it's a little bit short this week. Like I said, got some things I got to take care of, some more meetings to get to today. So again, I want to thank all you guys for your support. If you haven't already done so, if you haven't checked out the lessons and courses on musiclessons.com that I offer, please go ahead and do that. I post up links to those from time to time. And also, you see that I post up things or make mention of things dealing with YouTube on my social media platforms as well. So check those out. I'm always posting up some material and posting up videos of performances over the years. So, all right, guys, thanks again. That's it for episode 17 of Office Hours with Bob Ross. I will be back, I think, at a later time next Sunday, so stay tuned. I'll keep you up to date on what's happening with that. And thanks again, guys, and I'll see you next time.